Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of the Athol Royalston Regional School Committee for Wednesday, November 20th to order. Our first order of business this evening will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Mitch.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we begin the regular agenda this evening, the school district lost an ally this week with the sudden passing of Karen McNiff. Mrs. McNiff served a very long time on this committee as chair, and she was also the chair of the ACES Building Committee. So some words of remembrance of Karen by Mitch, and also if anybody else would like to chime in after Mitch, that would be appreciated.
Well, I was asked just to reflect for a moment on Karen, and Karen was one of those people that I knew well, but I honestly wish I knew her even better. She was such a good and kind person. As our chair indicated, she was chairperson of this school committee. She was the chair of the ACES Building Committee. She was the librarian in the children's room at the Athol Public Library for quite a long time. I even saw her when she chaired the mystery club that my wife and I would go to at noontime to discuss the latest mystery book. She always had a smile. She always had great ideas. I think she was in on our strategic plans over the years as well. I remember her more than anything for her incredible kindness and caring and her generosity towards everybody. She was always willing to listen to people, and she never had a bad word to say about anybody. As somebody I talked to this past week said, if you tried to say anything negative about anything or anyone, she would turn that into a positive. And that's the way she looked upon life. She really loved children, and I know that for me, when I go into the Athol Public Library, or particularly when I go into ACES, and when I look into the faces of our children and I see their smiles, and I look a little further, I look into their eyes, in those eyes I know that I'll continue to see Karen McNiff, and I know that her spirit and her drive and her love for children will always be a major part of this district, and we remember her with love tonight.
Thank you, Mitch. Anyone else? Kenneth.
I got to know Karen with working on the ACES Building Committee. She worked very diligently to promote the school, speaking at town meetings to promote the vote so that it would pass. And as chairperson, it wasn't just the monthly building committees, but it was the weekly meetings that we had in the trailer, and later the building as it was being built. She truly cared about the district. She truly cared about the kids. The amount of time that she spent devoting her time that she could have been doing other things to make this school district and to build that new school better. I'll also miss her personally from visiting with her in the library. She'd always ask me, how are things going on the school committee? She really was very dedicated to this town, and we lost a wonderful person.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Approval of minutes. October 16th, 2019, and before I forget, because I already have forgotten, I need to remind you that you are being videotaped this evening for playback on AOTV, as well as being posted on the district website.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? None. Abstentions? None. Okay. All right, public input. I do have the public input sheet, sign-in sheet here. There is no public input. So we'll move to student representative, and I see that he's not here at the moment, so we'll move right along to recognition. School committee, starting with Deb.
I would like to recognize and congratulate Julie Bouchard and the cast and crew of Annie Jr. that was put on, the performances put on this past weekend here at Athol High School. It was truly an outstanding production and enjoyed by many, including myself.
Ken?
Oh,
Nancy?
No, thank you. None, thank you.
Chet? Mitch?
Yeah, I have some certificates of recognition here, also relating to Annie. Starting off with the aforementioned Julie Capone Bouchard, who took over the program this year, and just it says you were recognized for the school committee for outstanding direction, musical direction, and choreography for Annie Jr. And she did all that, and she lent her expertise and her energy, and she involved kids from the high school, kids from the middle school, even some kids from the elementary school in the production. And from the moment that you heard those kids start off with "It's a Hard Knock Life" on that first song, you knew this was going to be a really special show. And it seemed like it was sold out in almost each of the 3 shows. So it was a huge success, and she certainly should receive a lot of credit for that. In addition, Brian Hicks was the music director, along with Julie, for that production, and I have a certificate for him. Again, a certificate signed by the chair of the school committee and the superintendent of schools. And for Laura Robinson, who, with her husband Jason, it's to Laura because I awarded it to the teachers in the district, but I know she worked well with her husband, who gave it his all as well, for outstanding set design for Annie Jr. And I know she worked in many other areas on the play as well. So all 3 of them are to be congratulated. There are other people that worked extremely hard as well that were thanked in the program, people like Donna LaJoy and Deb Bergeron, and a lot of parents and community members who did things, but in terms of the 3 teachers in our district, I want to honor them for their outstanding work. So we'll pass this on to, is Mr. King here? Yeah. Okay, so I'll get that to Mr. King, and he'll pass this along. And thank you, Mr. King. As you know, having been there, I know I saw you, I don't know how many performances you attended, probably all of them, or almost. But it was just an outstanding show, and the parents, I think, are continuing to talk so positively about it. Thank you for putting that together with those people.
Thanks, Mitch. Bill?
Nothing.
Carla? Okay. On to the student of the month. We'll start with ACES this evening.
Signed too? I'm just kidding.
Mrs. Cleveland, if you could take the microphone, please. Yes. Thank you. You're welcome.
So I am quickly going to give this over to Ms. Calvi as she recognizes Cheyenne Stockwood. Do I really need this thing? All right. I'm going to come over here. Okay. I want you to listen carefully, okay? All right. I recommended Cheyenne as my student of the month because she enters our classroom with her ready-to-learn smile almost every day. Even when she's not feeling her best, she says, "I'll try." She's a role model for all of her second grade peers, and especially her teacher. She makes me a better educator. Cheyenne has that rise and shine attitude, even on her toughest of days. Perseverance is this girl's middle name. We all could learn a lot from this bright light. I wish you many more successful days, Miss Cheyenne. Congratulations. She wants the microphone first.
She is a radio star.
This
so-
is my personal microphone, Cheyenne, that I'm giving to you.
Okay. I would like to welcome Miss Jenny. She's a beautiful lady and she has beautiful hair. Look, Miss Jenny!
All right. RCS.
Well, that's a tough act to follow, isn't it? I'm going to welcome Mrs. Jennifer Basso, our office secretary, up because she nominated Autumn Knechtel and Keegan Ward for the Students of the Month. Kids, you want to come up?
Thanks for coming tonight, guys. So I have two amazing assistants in the office at RCS. These two raise the flag every single day. They monitor the weather to make sure that the flag is always safe. They help out with pretty much everything that they can. When we need a hand with little kids at dismissal, they're zipping jackets. When they see anyone who needs help, they always go the extra mile. No one asks them to, and if someone did ask them to, they would be the first ones to do it, but they often just recognize when something needs a little bit of help, and they do it out of their own hearts. So I nominated Autumn Knechtel as my Student of the Month for RCS, and also Keegan Ward as a Student of the Month for RCS. They are amazing examples of what students can be. Okay. Do you guys want the mic as well?
Arms.
I am very honored to introduce you to Stephen Scott, the Arms Student of the Month. There's never been a moment when I've walked in the room and haven't seen Stephen fully focused, helping teachers, being respectful, being a great role model, and embodying our core values of perseverance, integrity, and respect. Recently, in an effort to have students become leaders in the classroom, I dubbed Stephen an ambassador, right? Responsible for helping keep the room clean, making sure students were doing what they were supposed to be doing and helping the teacher. And every time I came in, you commanded their respect, which was really remarkable. So I'm very proud of you. Congratulations.
Athol High School.
So tonight, we are recognizing two students that have demonstrated their Raider pride in support of their peers. Both recently lived the motto, see something, hear something, say something, which resulted in getting their peers the help and support they needed during a challenging personal time. Tonight, we thank and recognize both Connor Mahoney and Brooke Blanchett for being there for their friends and for making our school a place where greatness happens. Please help me in welcoming Connor Mahoney and Brooke Blanchett.
Subway Scholar Athlete of the Month.
We have two recipients this month, one from ARMS, one from ACES. Our first recipient is a member of our varsity field hockey team as an 8th grader. She is an A student at ARMS, a 3-sport athlete. I'm proud to present the Subway Scholar Athlete of the Month for ARMS to Lily Rathburn. Our high school representative is a member of our girls soccer team. She's also an A student. She's played soccer for 4 years. Crystal Cully.
Okay, Staff Member of the Month. Is somebody doing that tonight? Oh, okay, sure, yeah. You just go ahead and rename whatever you want to do. That's perfect.
So it is my pleasure to award, she's not a staff member, but she is putting in as many hours at ACES as just about everybody who works there. Grandma Kathy does whatever we ask her to do. And in all that she has a student-centered approach. She does it with support, kindness, and we are so lucky to have her. Kathy Napier.
Don't go anywhere, Mrs. Cleveland.
Yeah, no, you need to stay.
You need to stay.
ACES Gardening Grant.
So I am just announcing that the ACES school, Athol Community Elementary School, was nominated and received a grant from Hannaford Supermarkets to put in a garden. As part of that grant, we are going to be working with Green City Growers, who is the same people who build the gardens on top of Fenway Park. And they are creating a self-sustaining garden that irrigates itself, and it's about a $10,000 project. They have started to do the layout. They are going to repair 2 of the beds that are already there that were originally put in by Seeds of Solidarity. And in the spring, they're going to do some planting. They're going to provide 6 lessons to the grade level class that we think best matches with the curriculum. And then in the fall, Hannaford and will have whatever our harvest is, and Hannaford will also be donating to have a school-wide harvest party. So we are very excited. Yay us. I'd like to accept this wonderful grant.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Is there a second? Motion made and seconded? All those in favor?
Thank you.
All right, sit down. Unfinished business, the superintendent's evaluation process.
So ultimately, if people remember at our last school committee meeting, I presented the school committee with a 14-page document of the new process the state is recommending for superintendents. I asked if at this meeting, if there was any questions that people might have, that they could bring them forward and ask me. And then what I'd like to request of the school committee is if they are going forth with this new process, to see if next month we want to go through and actually select the indicators that I would be evaluated on and some evidence that you would like me to provide for that based on the new rubric.
Any questions from the committee at this point for this evening? Nancy?
I make a motion that we accept it and move on.
Motion made and seconded to accept the new evaluation process and to place it on the December agenda for further discussion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. All right, new business, use of facilities, travel basketball practice.
Yes, we currently, with our new policy, if a club of some sort in the community who supports our children comes forth and is not a nonprofit, the new policy is to go through the school committee with a recommendation from the superintendent. So inside of your packet, you will see a letter from Dan Beavis requesting that they use first the ACES Gymnasium from 6 to 8:30, starting in November through March 13th. Then the Arms Court as well, the dates are labeled there. And lastly, the Arms on November 4th through March 17th as well. So my recommendation, they are applying for nonprofit status, is my understanding. They have not received it yet. In past practice, what we have done is a nominal fee for the whole program. We did this with soccer. I believe it was $100 that we charged them for their season. So that would be my recommendation, rather than following the outline that we have here, which would be much more cost prohibitive for the basketball team while they're waiting for nonprofit status. That's my recommendation.
Dan, did you have anything to add regarding the application at all, or?
No, this is questions that you have of the program. I tried to outline it as best I could in the letter I submitted.
And that would be in addition. Bill, go ahead. That would be in addition to the janitorial rate.
I note in some of the communication from Mr. Beavis that they intend to pay for custodial staff. Would this $100 charge that you're talking about, Superintendent Fernandez, be applied toward that, those custodial fees?
We are not, I'm not proposing paying for custodial fees. I am proposing just a
Just
$100
$100.
nominal fee, because normally the building, if it's open in the evening, we normally have custodians there. So what I am looking for is a $100 nominal fee, which is what we charged the soccer team to use our fields. And so I'm asking for the same thing, nothing beyond that, because normally, unless it was outside the realm, and if it is outside the realm, we have to charge them the custodial fees, but only if it's outside the hours in which the custodians would normally be there. So if they were to have a game on a Saturday, then yes, we would ask them to pay. But if it's on a Friday night and we already have night custodians on, there should be no cost factor for that.
So you're just saying that the fee is $100 flat for everything?
It's $100 flat for everything, unless it happens to be at a time when we don't normally have custodial
Right.
staff.
I understand that.
Yes.
Dan, I know you had,
I was just going to answer those questions. So we have our games on Sundays, and past practice has always been that the janitor submits whatever to central office, and that bill gets sent to me, and then we take care of that. So that's what I meant by custodial fees. For our games that would take place on Sundays, which is, as Darcy said, outside of the normal time.
Wait,
Nancy.
I make a motion to accept the proposal that's been brought
I'll
forth.
second that.
discussion.
I just had a
Tammy.
question.
Yep.
The $100 fee they're imposing, how is that going to be paid? Is it the players will pay it, or is that coming out of a fund that you already have?
That'll come through registrations.
And you feel as though paying for custodial fees on Sundays is acceptable, and that they wouldn't put the community in a position to have to pay more?
Yeah, we've always done, that's the way it's always been done. We're
Good.
Just the only comment that I have, and I thank the superintendent for this arrangement. I don't want to, if this multi-use comes up again and the season has to start, I would rather just, instead of making them wait until, at least allow some sort of a usage in the meantime, so that, because in this case, there was a little lag time and the girls fell behind a little bit for practicing, and so we can always take care of the fee or that at the next thing. So I don't think anybody on this committee would ever fault you for allowing the use, and then we can deal with what we need to deal with on the other end of that.
Okay.
Okay? Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Was that somebody's phone, or am I hearing a bicycle horn?
Somebody over here.
Oh, okay. I thought it could have been me, but
Very strange.
just saying. Communications, you do have the enrollment, the current updated enrollment information in your packet. Let's see, financial statements and approval of accounts. Lynn?
Yes, expenditure report, first of all, just a couple of notes on it. Number one, it's looking good. Right now, we're on track, waiting for see what the winter season does for us as far as buildings are, and the new building here, we're very curious to see how, with the new windows and roof and boiler, how the budget's gonna show
Lynn,
hopefully a positive.
could you turn that microphone to you? Josh can't pick you up from the...
Okay, thanks, Josh. Let's see, on page 3, I'll just go over quickly just a couple things. On page 3, right now, long-term subs, we have a math person at the high school. My understanding is they're here through January, is that right? Okay, at this point. On page number 4, we've added 3 more paras, 3 more general paras at ACES, and I think they've started just this past week. Good. Let's see, what else we got going on? We've got RCS, only 2? Okay, or do you have another do you have another advertisement out for one? You just haven't got one?
We don't have any candidates right now.
Okay.
I do have it out, but at least
Okay, so you got 2 that have started. Okay, great. RCS guidance counselor, my understanding is the new guidance counselor started today over at RCS. Good. We are looking for a contract for psychologist. I know that we're still working on that. And I think Cindy's working on maybe getting another support person over at RCS, which she will be discussing with Darcy if she hasn't already. We've got some staff coming on board here, some that already have come on. On the bottom of the report, basically, I'm very curious to see how our January school choice figures are going to end up. I believe the going outs will be a lot less expensive than what we have seen, so I hope that's what happens, but we won't see new figures until January. So that's our expenditure report, and like I said, the budget looks great, looks really good right now.
One of the things that I want to note before Lynn goes on is if you take a look at our count, I did the last 6 years count. We're at 1552 now for students at Athol Royalston. In last year, we were at 1453, the year before 1500, 1486 prior, 1425, 1412, 1437. So when you look at the last 7 years, this is the highest number of students that we have had in the district. So when people are asking why we're adding, obviously when bodies come in, that's an issue. And if you take a look, one of our goals is obviously to keep the numbers down. You can see at second grade, we're busting at the seams. I know Shannon and I did have a conversation about the way in which we can support that. We've come up with an alternative way of looking at that and working with it. But I do want you to know, we continue to have people coming into the district, and the numbers continue to rise, which is requiring us to find more creative methods in being able to support those new students.
Okay, and the next report is the revenue report. Again, we're on track. Our state revenues are coming in, the assessments are coming in, and we should see by the end of December, half of our transportation, our reimbursement coming in. So I'm hoping again that that figure will be a little higher than what we're actually showing here. I know that the state has been working with increasing the regional transportation percentage that public schools get, so we may see some more funding there, which I hope to see maybe by the end of December. Budget line transfers, no budget line transfer requests for tonight. Grant report, there's a grant report in your packet as well. We have just added, I don't think it's on here yet, we just added a targeted grant for the high school, right, Darcy?
Yes, if I could speak to that.
Yes.
The state last week opened up a targeted assistance grant for the high school of $20,000. One of the things that we had to do in order to put supports in place for the math department was to hire the Leslie Center for Mathematics. So one of the things we've done is we've put in a request for $20,000 of that money to be used so that we can then replace some of the funds back into our school choice funds. So that's where we are at with that.
And you'll see at the bottom of the grant report, the budget for the grants right now, or the grants that we've gotten so far this year, $1,298,681. So it's a good chunk of money to help supplement the budget. Let's see, that's grants. Now, guardian payment. We have a guardian disability insurance for our custodial staff, our cafeteria staff. The school district pays the disability insurance for the food service staffing. Once an employee reaches full-time employment, they are signed up. 2 staff in previous years did reach full-time status but had not been set up appropriately. So I want to vote to approve a past payment for fiscal 19 of $714.24 to Guardian Disability to bring us up to date on that disability insurance.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Mitch? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Okay, the next item we have on the agenda here is the draft fiscal 21, it should say, not fiscal 20, fiscal 21 budget timetable. Again, this just sort of mimics as closely as we could the timetable that we had established last year. So I just want everybody to take a look at this. And I don't know if we'd be ready to vote on it tonight or if you want to vote on it at the next meeting. The real important one is the all boards meeting on January 22nd. Right now, I have had both positive feedback from Royalston and Athol that January 22nd would work for them. And you'll see other, obviously other meetings involved here. But again, it's a draft, and it's just something to keep us on target and make sure that we're meeting with the appropriate town departments and school departments on a timely basis. So again, I don't know if I should ask for a vote.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded to accept the budget timetable as submitted. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed?
Okay, and I'd asked the middle school and the high school to submit their student activity checking account annual, their checking account maximums and the active and inactive accounts that we have to get from them every year. I do have the high school one that was submitted by David. Basically, Dave's asking to keep the high school checking account at the $25,000 that we've had in the past couple of years. He's included here. Does everybody have that sheet? There's a sheet in your file. Included here is a list of active accounts with the balances that he has as of right now, and then he indicates he only has one inactive account to close this year. The class of 2019 has closed their account. So again, this would be a vote of the school committee to vote that these are the school student activity accounts that we have at the high school, and that David will close the 2019 activity account, which looks like it's probably already been closed.
Is there a motion? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay.
One other thing, I just wanted to bring your attention that there was two warrants in the warrant tonight. One was our regular warrant, and one was a high school field trip check for $215 that we actually had to submit this morning because the field trip went this morning. Is that correct, David? Yeah, so we had to give that check to them this morning, so I just wanted to bring your attention to that you did sign that. That was that small $215 warrant that came around.
Okay. Thank you.
Mitch has a question.
Oh, sorry, Mitch.
The comment is Lynn finishes up her report on the, take my microphone back, thank you. As Lynn finishes up her report on the budget process, I wanted to encourage any teachers and parents who are in the audience or who may be later watching on AOTV, that there's a very organized budget process, with the first deadline being very soon, November 29th, when preliminary budget sheets are due. But that's where teachers and parents can have input, meeting with the principal and with the school council to identify what they see as priorities for for their individual schools, and the principal will take that information back and use that information and that input in formulating his or her budget that then gets submitted to the superintendent. So we have had, certainly since you've been in the district, a very organized budget process, and we appreciate that, but people should be aware of that and understand that budget priorities are inclusive.
Right.
Good way to put it. Thank you.
Carla.
Just to add to what Mitch just said, you can get a copy of the budget timetable from the central office, so you'll know what the dates are that people need to meet if they're going to want to have input as a group, as individuals, into the budget process.
Thank you. All right. Strategic plan update.
Yes, I just wanted to inform the school committee that we will be reviewing our school strategic plan over the month of December and beginning of January. And what I mean by that is to see how things are going. And there'll be several ways in which I will be doing that. In December, our principals will have their next iteration of NWEA data. So we'll be looking at that at the beginning of January and seeing how our progress is being made. I will begin, again, a tour of schools in January to talk to staff and ask how these strategic items are going. Again, I'm going to welcome the union to be part of that so that we've got some voices at the table can help me filter out what's taking place and see if there's any corrective action we need to make. And in addition to that, we hope to begin in January again a phone calls home to parents asking their thoughts about the district and doing a random selection so that we can get feedback there as well. Because we don't want to wait until the end of the year and find out there are parts of our plan that aren't working. So the goal is always to try to get some feedback in the middle stream of this. I also will be talking to students. I'm going to begin that process with the high school. And so I will be visiting the high school in December and going to meet with about a quarter of the students at each grade level to hear how their experiences are going. And in the past, what I've done is really met with students starting in 5th grade up. I'm going to talk to the 2 elementary principals to see if there's some way in which we might be able to get some feedback from students at the elementary level as well, to use to help us kind of say, are we having an impact with our strategic plan? So I just wanted to inform the school committee of that process.
Okay. Reports of the committee, starting with the chair. This evening, I do have word from Boston, in case you haven't heard, that the Compromise Mass Education Opportunity Act bill, which was passed previously in the Senate, this was a bill that was worked on by not only the Mass Legislature, but also MASC, the Massachusetts Teachers Association, Mass Superintendents, a whole slew of people to come together and to provide better educational opportunity to the students in the Commonwealth. It also includes a formulation revision committee and attempt at the Chapter 70 formula. It will benefit the rural schools as well as city schools by, I think it's a total of like $1.5 billion package over a few years with regards to the level of Chapter 70 we get. I think that passed today in the House. It was a unanimous vote. And so I just wanted to bring that forward that, you know, over the course of the next couple of years, we may see an increase in our Chapter 70. Budget, finance. Anything this
I
evening?
I could not attend the budget subcommittee meeting. I think Lynn's gone over everything
Okay.
very well, so
Yep.
we'll leave it at that.
Facilities?
We met this evening, we met prior to this meeting and approved $33,000 for the ongoing project of the window replacement at the high school, with the anticipation of the project being completed at the end of December. Monitoring of the water supply at Royalston is ongoing. We reviewed the security project here at the high school and have seeking some additional information concerning other security issues. And I have no update concerning the track project.
I think just so you were aware, we'll probably be better set to have a general discussion about the track project at the all boards meeting. That's the plan. So we can have some open dialogue as we move into town meeting season to see, you know, where we stand and what updated numbers are and what, you know, what the
That's
plan would
the
be.
January 22nd
Yep.
meeting.
Yep. Negotiations.
We are in mediation at this point, and things are going.
Academic excellence, the October meeting, information received then was passed on to the school committee at the October meeting. This morning, we did hear from Molly with some more information on data collecting and the use of and what the plans are and what's happening with the teachers and administration. And we will meet again next month.
Okay, public relations.
We were unable to meet last week for a schedule. We were unable to meet this month.
Okay, that was easy. Deb, you have the floor.
We have, for a second reading, we have one policy, DBF, grant compliance policy, for a second reading. Do you have a motion to accept for a second reading?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed?
We have several on the agenda for first reading. Would you like me to read them all?
Yes. Oh, Fred.
Yes, there's two of these policies which, based on the content, are not accurate. The two are professional teacher status and suspension and dismissal of support staff members. So they're not consistent with Chapter 71, Section 42 and 42D. So starting with professional teacher status, there's a typo in the first paragraph, last sentence. Says the superintendent will base their decision. It should be his, her decision. However, then it goes on in the third paragraph and indicates the teacher who attains professional teacher status will have continuous employment in the service of the school district subject to satisfactory evaluation. But it's also subject to Chapter 71, Section 42 and 42D, which are the discipline procedures under state law. So they're not incorporated in here. It states under legal reference, it refers to 721 section 42, but it's not here in the bill.
So we need to add the legal reference, is what you're saying?
Well, I think we need to add some terminology too.
Okay. That's,
The second one, which is similar, is the suspension and dismissal of support staff members, where it indicates that there could be an immediate termination. Again, the procedures under 71, section 42 and 42D have to be followed. You can't simply immediately terminate someone without following the protocols under state law. So again, if the subcommittee wants to read it, it's 71 section 42 and 42D. Neither one is correct based upon those laws. I can rewrite this and send it to the policy subcommittee.
thank you, I appreciate that. So this is GCJ and GDQD, correct? All right, so let's eliminate those two, send those back to the drawing board, and move on with the rest for a first reading.
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the first reading of the rest of them.
The rest of them.
As submitted. Okay. Is there a second?
What was the motion?
To recommend, to accept the rest of the listed, except for those two. Okay.
First reading.
As a first reading.
As the first reading.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you.
Okay. That will be it.
Okay. Committee member referrals. We'll start with Carla. Bill.
Nothing here, thank you.
Mitch?
Yes, I wanted to talk about the fact that a couple of weeks ago, the superintendent and several members of the committee and the administrative assistant to the superintendent attended the MASC-MASS joint conference. And once again, it was a very valuable experience. I wanted to note that some of the workshops that some of us attended were on the following subjects: personal learning and autism, strong communities, strong public schools, preparing school committees for changing times, compelling communication, how to strengthen your district's brand in the community, music integration to promote social emotional learning, literacy, and math skills, keeping emotional balance while promoting student adaptability and resilience, organizing district resources, structures, and systems that ensure equity and access for all students, and reframing diversity for the 21st century, and finally, social and emotional learning beyond the jargon, what's involved in implementing effectively. So those were some of the workshops that we attended during that time. Very worthwhile, and encourage as many members who could attend those for a day or two or three to get down there for a future conference. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the district giving us the time and the registration to do that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Chuck?
Yes, with the projected school enrollment figures, as we're coming into budget time, we have some fascinating number increases in population shifts going on with our population of kids. There's literally a tidal wave about to hit the high school next year. It's going to add over 75 kids, I think, to the school. I'd be curious to hear what the super has to say about some of the plans for next year and how that thought process might work. You know, our numbers and the lower grades are still pretty high too, and what your thoughts might be in personnel and how we want to fund and budget that.
Right. Well, Lynn and I are in the process of meeting with everyone to hear what exactly do they need for support for that. So we'll have a better understanding that after we meet with each of the schools. If you take a look at the budget timeline, I believe we're meeting in the first couple of weeks in December, because the principals have to submit their budgets by the end of this month. And so I can give you a better perspective on that once we do that. I don't want to propose now without hearing directly from them. I think that would be unfair because we really have to look at a couple of things. What are some of the needs as far as our special needs population is concerned? What are some of the needs for our SEL population? It is rising. And also, what are some of our needs as it relates to classroom numbers and where the school committee wants to be? I think all of those are going to factor into the process. I will say to you right now, as Lynn and I are speaking, we're going to need some money. I'll be honest with you. We're going to need some money. I'm hoping this new bill will help with some of that. We haven't really heard how that's going to impact us yet. And so we're waiting to hear, because what I'm hearing is the governor may want to put this into place over a course of 10 years. So how that waters down the process, we'll see, but we're hopeful that we'll see some funds in that area. And I know within the equation, the nice thing is that they do look at your population for special ed and give you more points. They look at your population for low income and give you more points. So I'm hoping that will rise us up a little bit as far as the amount of funding we're going to get. But we don't have that information just yet.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tammy, Nancy, Ken, Deb.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Could
Mitch.
I just quickly say thank you to the parents and to the teachers in the audience, those of you who are here from ACES or RCS, supporting various individuals and keeping yourself apprised on what it is that we do here. We appreciate seeing you out there. Thank you very much.
Okay. The committee has a need to go into a very brief executive session just for the purposes of approving the last set of executive session minutes. So at this point in time, good night. And I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session under reason number 3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. Roll call vote, please.
Nancy Melbourne, yes.
Tammy Duquette, yes.
Chuck Preddy, yes.
Lee Chevette, yes. Bill.
Mitchell Grosky, yes.
Thank you. Bill. Bill. Roll call vote, executive session.
Yes. Lynn, hold on, Lynn.
Carla.